of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, would be speaking.
Where he has been deeply involved in finding solutions to various conflicts, makes it imperative that he shares his perspectives on the impact of the emergence of the AES on our West African sub-region, and more importantly, how to help us repair the strained relationships so that we remain an ECOWAS of 15 member states, a sub-region which has been a model across the continent of sub-regional integration. Let me end. For now, I have some more things to tell you about Baba, but I'll wait after his speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairman, for accepting and also giving us that regional education and tour, sub-regional tour. A lot of us have gone on that tour, and we are grateful. Thank you so much. Let me just remind you that the lecture would be delivered, and after that there will be a review of the lecture, and there will be an opportunity to ask questions. So General Baba, we beg, will ask questions from the audience, and also there will be a panel discussion where we'll get to elicit some more information from our special lecturer today. Now, we are also grateful that we extended invitations to a lot of you and you agreed to join us. So I want to just acknowledge briefly some of the key personalities who are here with us. And because the Sahel region has been mentioned a lot of times, I think it is important to acknowledge Lieutenant Colonel Retired Larry Bavlolate, who is here in our midst. Thank you so much for joining us. We have our former Foreign Affairs Minister, the Honorable Hannah Tete, in our midst. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Deputy Chief of Staff at the Presidency, Nana Oye Bampuado, is here in our midst. Thank you so much for joining us. When we talk about West Africa, Emmanuel Bombande is one name we always mention from one days. Mr. Bombande, thank you so much for joining us. Our former chairperson of the Electoral Commission is our midst, Charlotte Ose. We are grateful that you joined us. Thank you so much. Ambassador Dr. Nyaho Tamapulo Oyuado, thank you so much. Military High Command, we are grateful that you all took time to join us for this discussion today. Retired generals in our midst, thank you so much. And members of the diplomatic corps, we are really, really grateful. Our next speaker is a Minister of State. He has held previous positions in the last administration. And now that John Dramani Mahama got elected as President of Ghana, he appointed him as the Minister for Defense. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite a medical doctor, Minister for Defense, the Honorable Dr. Edward Omani Buama, to speak to us.
I don't know why medicine is so dominant. It's like once you're a doctor, you can't do any other thing apart from it. As I listened to Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers speak, and I said, oh, you are as I predicted. Because when they contacted me, they said I should be chairperson. I said, okay, so how is the program like? Okay, you'll be chair, Dr. Ibn Chambers, speaker, Baba, speaker. I said, you don't want to end. Because Dr. Ibn Chambers alone can exhaust 3 hours and over. Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, Baba, or OBJ can also exhaust 5 hours. So it meant that we were not going to live. I said, I'm the younger one. Let me just come and sit and listen. They said, no. Then you'll be guest of honor. You must say something. I said, okay, let's have Doc as the chair. Doc, thanks very much for accepting to chair and summarizing your speech to fit into the time constraint that we have. I will also seek to dwell on the established protocols. And as our friends from Nigeria will say, all other protocols observed. The keynote speaker, His Excellency Olusegun Obasanjo, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And as I've said, all other protocols observed. I welcome you to the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. I'm honored to be the guest of honor for today's Republic Day lecture. The theme, ECOWAS and its survival, the impact of the alliance of the Sahelian States and the way forward is timely and relevant. As we discuss the future of ECOWAS, it's essential to think strategically about leveraging collective strengths to promote peace, stability, and economic development in West Africa. In today's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world, Israel versus Palestine, Israel and Iran, Russia and Ukraine, DRC and Rwanda, and West Africa dealing with ECOWAS as it is now, ECOWAS, as against ECOWAS as it was, ECOWAS. We need to certainly adapt quickly. I commend the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College for its partnership with the One Ghana movement in hosting this lecture series. And I'm happy it has become an annual affair. By prioritizing collective action and cooperation, we can effectively tackle pressing issues and build a more secure, stable, and prosperous future for West Africa. I urge us to work together to harness our collective potential and build a brighter future for our sub-region. I look forward to the thought-provoking discussion and recommendations that will emerge from today's lecture. I'm confident that the intellectual exchange will contribute meaningfully to strengthening ECOWAS and promoting regional stability, security, and development. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Dr. Edward Owani-Boamah, our Minister for Defense, for that remark. We are getting to the climax now, and because we've been told that our guest lecturer is actually his home, you may not need to do a lot of introduction, but no, we must, because the profile is heavy, and I do not have locus to introduce Baba this afternoon. So I've imported someone to assist me, and to do the introduction of our lecturer today, I want to invite One Ghana Movement's own Emily Nyuro to do that for us. Ladies and gentlemen, let's invite my colleague Emily Nyuro, One Ghana Movement. And while we wait for Emily, let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Vladimir Danso, who is here in our midst. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us. And we have our former Chief of Defense Staff here, General Sam, joining us. Thank you so much, sir, for taking your time. Thank you.
As has been done by our chairman and our guest of honor, I'd like to stand on existing protocols, because this is a very robust list, and I do not think that I can do it justice. So I'll just go ahead and perform my role. It is with profound honor and a deep sense of occasion that I introduce the distinguished lecturer for this year's Republic Day public lecture, a man whose name resonates across the African continent, and the global stage as a statesman, a soldier, a reformer, a peacemaker, and above all, a tireless advocate for African integration and good governance. Our lecturer is a figure whose leadership legacy spans military command and democratic governance. From leading Nigeria as a military head of state in the late 1970s, to later returning as a democratically elected president from 1999 to 2007. He is the first Nigerian leader to successfully transition from military to civilian rule, a feat that remains etched in African political history. Under his presidency, Nigeria experienced significant economic reforms, debt relief through negotiations with international creditors, and a reinvigorated focus on regional diplomacy. His Excellency is known not only for his bold domestic policies, but for his role in stabilizing West Africa, mediating in civil conflicts in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Cote d'Ivoire, and also serving as a vocal proponent of ECOWAS as a mechanism for peace, stability, and economic cooperation. Beyond public office, he has remained a formidable voice in Africa's development discourse, from chairing the African Union to serving as a United Nations Special Envoy, and more recently, playing a crucial mediating role in various peace efforts, including in Ethiopia. An author, a global speaker, and a founder of the Presidential Library, he's a living repository of Africa's post-independence journey, replete with lessons, warnings, and wisdom. Today, as we explore the survival and future of ECOWAS amid emerging political and security dynamics in the Sahel, no one is better placed to deliver this lecture than a man who has walked the corridors of power, bridged military and civilian worlds, and worked tirelessly to shape the African project. Ladies and gentlemen, with a warm round of applause, please join me in welcoming the lecturer of the 2025 Republic Day Public Lecture, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Matthew Okikiola Aremu Obasanjo, former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Please be seated. Can't you see me? Is there anybody who cannot see me? Why do you make them feel that I'm shorter than I am? Let me begin by congratulating the government and the good people of this country on the occasion of this year's Republic Day celebration. Happy celebration. I understand it's a week-long celebration that will culminate in a number of activities on Friday. I wish I could be here with you. Let me acknowledge the presence of a brother, a fellow soldier in the field of working for West Africa and Africa, and if you like, humanity as a whole. And of course, I'm talking of my brother, Mohammed,
Recording in progress.
Has rightly been put here as chairman of this occasion. acknowledge the presence of the Minister of Defense and for your accepting to be guest of honor and also to honor me and Mohammed by you accepting to be guest of honor. Let me come to this special invention of Nigeria, because in Nigeria, after you have gone through the very nice and long protocol that OC has nicely put out to us, Nigeria will still say all protocols observed. I don't know what other protocols we have, but they have it. I must, at this juncture, thank the commandant of the Command and Staff College for your kind invitation. And I feel proud. Thank the commandant of the Command and Staff College for your kind invitation. And I feel proud to be here among you, colleagues, past and present. Because here in Teshi, as it has been mentioned, is where I began my military career. I was a member of what is Ross 10, and as you may be aware, in those days we have two threats a year coming from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, of course from here, and from Gambia. And my presence in Teshi today brings back fond memories of my experience across, along some of my brothers then, like the late General Manuel Eskin, Colonel Kabore, who was my roommate, Techimen Singh and Adekunle. They were our next door neighbor, and they were fighting like two dogs. I am therefore greatly honored that the Command and Staff College has found me worthy of delivering this year's Public Day lecture. When I accepted the invitation to deliver this lecture, I did so with mixed feelings. On one hand, I was excited to return to Teshi and speak at such an auspicious occasion. On the other hand,
I was gloomy about the topic of this year's Republic Day lecture, which is ECOWAS and its survival, impact of the alliance of the Sahelian States, and the way forward. I was gloomy because of the dilemma in which the region has found itself. I asked myself the question, which many well-meaning people have been asking: how did we get here? Indeed, today's lecture centers on two questions. First, how did we get here? And second, where do we go from here? And it's all encapsulated in the title. Let me attempt to delve into the question of how we got here. 50 years ago, in May 1975, leaders of our West African region took the bold and visionary decision to create the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, as a vehicle to foster economic cooperation, integration, and development among member states. It wasn't easy for them because the colonial powers, I should say, but particularly France, did not take kindly to what our leaders were trying to do. But for President Ofoboy, if he had not put his foot down, the French would have stopped the creation of ECOWAS. The regional bloc operated on several fundamental principles, and including equality and independence of member states, solidarity and collective self-reliance, cooperation and harmonization of policies, non-aggression, peaceful dispute resolution, promotion of human rights, and good governance. With such principles, it didn't take long for ECOWAS to become the pride of Africa as the continent's most vibrant regional economic bloc. Until recently, the Union recorded many accomplishments and successes which made it the envy of other regional blocs. In the area of peacemaking and peacekeeping, ECOWAS intervention in countries like Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, and the Gambia, among others, help to end conflict and provide stability. In Côte d'Ivoire, we held a number of meetings here in Accra for peace and sustenance of democracy. But I will come back to that later. But before, I can just say here, we had Accra 1, Accra 2, Accra 3, and I think, didn't we have Accra 4 before we moved to Yamoussoukro? And President Gbagbo frustrated all efforts. And on one of the Accras, I think Accra 3, at 5 a.m., I went to his room. He was in his bed with pants. And I said, brother, I want to talk to you like two brothers. So he said, what do I want to say? I said, tell me, between two of us, what exactly do you want? And he said, I want to win election. I said, but you are frustrating election. He said, because I'm not sure I will win. Which is honest. And I said, well, look, if I can put it to you, there are four pillars, four political pillars in your country. You are one pillar. Pede is one pillar. Ouattara is one pillar. Soro is one pillar. If you will win election, you must be able to control at least two pillars, but better still, three. How many two? Which are the two pillars you are now controlling? Except himself as a pillar. He wasn't controlling any other pillar. So I said to him, when you can control two pillars, you are on the way to winning election. And I said, the two pillars that can you bring to yourself is Soro, the young man, is your protege. And can't you handle that? The second is Bide. He has been there. He doesn't need what he seemed to be working on. He seemed move to Bide. Ouattara has got Bide into his pocket. And then he thought he got Soro. But when the chiefs were down, Soro was not in his pocket. It was in somebody else's pocket. Now, the creation and deployment of a peacekeeping force, the Economic Community of West African States Monitoring Group in 1990, ECOWAS, primarily in response to the Liberian Civil War, was, in my view, the high point of ECOWAS regional peace and security initiatives. And I am proud that Nigeria and Ghana were at the forefront of the contribution of troops to ECOWAS missions. In the 1990s, ECOWAS became a household name in the region and took a pride of place as Africa's most celebrated success peacekeeping case study. In homes across the region, there was a deep connection with and appreciation of other West African nationals, due in large part to ECOWAS. Regional solidarity and confidence in the Union reached unprecedented levels. ECOWAS troops were welcomed and celebrated in troubled countries across the region in abuses and I quote,
to travel to the Sahel and establish businesses within the region without visas. Policies like the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme, EGLF, aimed to promote duty-free trade among member states, fostering economic integration. Maybe at this point, I should mention a failure for which I will partly take responsibility. We agreed to common currency, ECO. And we left it entirely in the hands of experts. And they gave us, I think, 4 or 5 convergences. Ahmed, you will remember. And what happened? When Nigeria met 3 of these convergences, Ghana will meet 2. When Ghana met 3, Nigeria will meet 2. And so we never converged. And that was a mistake. When I became elected president, we had enough money at the stage, over $50 billion in our reserve, and over $25 billion in what we call excess crude. We could have taken those that were ready, and we had enough foreign exchange to back it. Maybe we should have at that time taken 2 Francophone and 2 Anglophone countries, and we will have got there as far as ECO, common currency, is concerned. Another area in which ECOWAS has achieved significant success is the area of strengthening democracy and democratic institutions in member states. In 1975, when ECOWAS was established, many of the member states were led by military junta. The 1980s and 1990s saw a wave of democratization across the sub-region, with ECOWAS at the center of promoting democracy by setting and enforcing democratic norms, promoting good governance, and addressing unconstitutional changes of government. This was made possible by a change in the scope of ECOWAS to include democratic principles. ECOWAS at its inception was purely an economic tool with the key pillars promoting good governance and addressing unconstitutional changes of government. This was made possible by the treaty was established to promote cooperation and integration in order to create an economic and monetary union for economic development, growth, and prosperity in West Africa. It was meant to cover aspects of economic activity, particularly industrialization, transportation, telecommunication, energy, agribusiness, monetary and financial areas, social and cultural matters. The focus was the economic welfare and well-being of the people of West Africa through monetary and custom union, binding together through legislation, productive capacities and capabilities and market of West Africa. It took about 20 years for the scope of ECOWAS to be expanded to include issues such as democratic governance, economic and social justice, and the promotion of human rights. This expansion of the scope of ECOWAS was captured in the revised Treaty of July 1993. The difference between the 1975 Treaty and the 1993 Treaty is important to highlight because it sets the stage for understanding some of the successes of ECOWAS as well as some of the challenges bedeviling the organization and indeed the West African sub-region today. I believe that some of the criticisms of ECOWAS today stem from this fundamental shift of the organization from one which focused on regional economic integration to one which dabbled into internal political issues of member states. That shift has proven to be a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it has been used to bring peace and stability in some countries in the region, such as I said earlier, in Liberia, in Sierra Leone, and in Cote d'Ivoire, in Guinea-Bissau. On the other hand, it has created problems that have now led to the withdrawal of 3 key member states, showcasing the apparent weakness of the organization in dealing with internal political issues of member states, especially when confronted by defiant leadership. Events of the recent past have caused great concern about the fate of the Union as it confronts the challenges caused by withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger from ECOWAS and their subsequent formation of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES. The region also faces challenges around security, safety, well-being, and progress of the people of West Africa. Some of these challenges include, I think Mohammed brought this out, terrorism and extremism, particularly in the Sahel states, which has led to increased violence and instability across the West African sub-region, ease of access to guns, even though Mohammed is looking after keeping guns silent, is not looking after transfer or access to guns. We hope that if we cannot stop access to guns, we can keep them silent. Increased poverty and inequality. According to reports, 7 of the world's 10 most unequal countries are in Africa, with West African governments being the least committed to reducing inequality on the continent. Increased political instability leading to coups and counter-coups, with 6 successful coups and numerous unsuccessful coups in the last 5 years alone. Permit me just to remind you of some of these successful coups in West Africa since 2020. Mali 2020, President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta was overthrown by Colonel Assimi Goïta on August 18, 2020. Also Mali 2021, Transitional President Ba Indo was ousted by Vice President Colonel Assimi Goïta on May 24, 2021. Guinea 2021, President Alpha Condé was detained and the constitution dissolved by Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya on September 5, 2021. Burkina Faso 2022, January 2022, President Rochmark Christian Kabore was overthrown by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandargo Damiba on January 24, 2022. September 2022, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandogo Damiba was ousted by Captain Ibrahim Traore on September 30, 2022. Niger Republic, 2023, President Mohamed Bazoum was ousted by Colonel Amadou Abdraman and General Abdraman Chani on July 26 to 28, 2023. Let us not bother to mention the foiled coups or alleged coups, because it will seem that in a country like Burkina Faso, foiled coups have become a regular occurrence. The resurgence of coups and unconstitutional change of government in West Africa has been a litmus test for the effectiveness and relevance, if not survival, of ECOWAS. The coup trend and the efforts by ECOWAS leaders to push back with sanctions and threats of military intervention led to the withdrawal of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic from ECOWAS, and their subsequent establishment of our new union, the Alliance of Sahelian States, AES, about a year ago. The split by the trio has left ECOWAS in a very precarious situation. We should bear in mind that in the 50 years history of the organization, the exit by the AES countries was the first of such exit, and in such number. The unprecedented move caught ECOWAS off guard and exposed the regional bloc's weaknesses in dealing with defiant member states. It showed that sanctions were no longer enough to keep member states in check, and threats of military action were to aggravate the situation. We could see that a heavy-handed ECOWAS only alienated member states. And yet, what is the point of having a union if it cannot exert influence, if not control, over member states? But it all depends on how. I will come back to that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the true color of our situation in West Africa. Where then do we really go from here? From my experience, and as is now obvious to all, regional and continental organizations are effective only to the extent to which they are able to enshrine common goals and shared benefits. The ECOWAS story today is one which should serve as a reference point to all who are tasked with managing regional and continental organizations. As President of Nigeria from 1999 to 2007, I've had my fair share of interaction with ECOWAS to know that what is confronting the organization today is mostly a leadership issue. It takes
great understanding of the issues confronting the West Africa sub-region to navigate the leadership of ECOWAS. From 1976 to 1979, I had the opportunity to run the affairs of Nigeria as military head of state. I assumed office just about a year after the signing of the Lagos Treaty that created ECOWAS, and I immediately recognized that it was my responsibility and duty as Nigeria's leader to join hands with the colleagues across West Africa to nurse the new birth ECOWAS and put it on the path of survival, growth, and progress. And let me tell this story. The treaty was signed in 1975, but nothing else was done other than the signing. We had to locate the, what do you call them? The headquarters, the finance, and all that. And we had a meeting. It was a long meeting, overnight. We started from the morning and we went into about 2 a.m. in the night. And what was the problem? The problem was location of the headquarters. President Ayadema wanted the headquarters in Lome. I wanted the headquarters in Lagos. And we were on this. And President Ofukwai at 2 a.m. said, let us call it off and let the night provide wisdom. So we call it off. And then he came to my room and said, look, can't you agree that the headquarters should be in Lagos and the headquarters for the finance and all that, anything pertaining to money, should be in Lome? I said, well, rather than for us not to have agreement, I will agree to that. And then the following morning, President Ofukwai said, well, night I provided wisdom. Headquarters will be in Lagos and financial headquarters will be in Lome. And everybody clapped. And we got solution. Now, my early involvement with ECOWAS culminated in my appointment, as I said, as chairman of the regional bloc from 1978 to 1979. Indeed, it was a most challenging task, building such a regional organization from scratch, but with the commitment, dedication, and support of all member states. We succeeded in keeping ECOWAS alive during those critical infant years of the organization. Had we, the leaders of the West African sub-region at the time, allowed our prejudices or our egos get the better of us, ECOWAS would have been stillborn, or will have been born and will have died within a few years of its birth. Even in those days, we were confronted with some of the challenges of today. Yet, as responsible leaders, we manage those challenges bearing in mind that shared prosperity, collective security, and common security and collective self-sufficiency were more beneficial than ego trips, muscle flexing,
or grandstanding. We were able to reach compromises. I've given you an example. Even on matters bordering on sovereignty of our country and on our individual national interests. A lot of work was put into building confidence, trust, consensus, and cooperation among member states, such that even where the stick was applied, there was little doubt as to the overall motive of the initiative. In my view, ECOWAS remains a worthy initiative, and its accomplishments over the years cannot be wished away or easily forgotten, in spite of overwhelming current realities, gaps, and challenges. If we are to make any progress with ECOWAS, and indeed in the West African sub-region, let us consider some of the difficulties and handicaps of the organization since its establishment, and try to find solutions where possible. The first and major challenge, in my opinion, is its colonial heritage and the baggage of divisions along Francophone, Anglophone, and Lusophone countries, with reasonable grip on lives, economy, and monetary matters by erstwhile colonial power, especially in Francophone countries. Added to this are issues of political instability, corruption, internal conflicts, and violence emanating from youth lack of education, skill acquisition, empowerment, and of course, their unemployment. Other dangers and criminalities go with these, such as banditry, terrorism, kidnapping, violent extremism, drug and human trafficking. And of course, these coupled with easy access to guns make for almost impossible security to be maintained in our region. Election-related violence and deadly epidemic and pandemic must not be left out. But what are the organs and the instrument of ECOWAS to execute its program, to achieve its objective, and to ward off the unwanted? Of the 5 major organs of ECOWAS are the authority of the heads of state and government, which is the highest executive body of the organization, with the Council of Ministers, followed by the Commission, which carries out the day-to-day function of running the office or the executive secretariat of the organization and implementing the decisions of the executive body, the authority, and the council. The third major organ is the parliament, which is supposed to make laws that will gradually bind the economies of the countries together. The fourth is ECOWAS Court of Justice, and the fifth major organ is the Bank for Development and Investment. There are other minor organs and instruments that are purposely created for specific function. The structure is akin to the structure of governance of a country with executive, legislature, and judiciary, but in this case, lacking in defense and security apparatus and maintenance of law and order. No police, no matter what the executive or the authority may decide. Although progress has been admittedly slow, we have something to show for and
to be proud of. ECOWAS was the most advanced, as I said, and most successful of the 5 regional economic communities in Africa. We have common passport, and we need no visa to visit the 15 countries of ECOWAS. It would have been significantly progressive if we had immediately followed common passport with common visa, which will have provided free movement within the 15 countries for investors and visitors who want to do business with West Africa. The bank is established and functioning. Apart from the offices of the major organs being structurally and functionally established, offices of minor organs and instruments are also functionally operational. These include Council of Ministers, the Tribunal, Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing in West Africa, ECOWAS Peace Fund, ECOWAS Plan of Action Against Climate Change, Protocol on Dealing with Corruption, Prevent, Suppress, and Eradicate, Organizations Regional Resilience Strategy, including governance, social protection, and inclusion. Provision was made for 4 pillars of peace, security, stability, and good governance. There is even provision of code of ethics for the states in institutions and personnel within ECOWAS. Almost every aspect that could make for a thriving, peaceful, harmonious, inclusive, and united, fast-developing regional economic community organization was put on paper, but they are not useful enough because they are kept more by breach, neglect, and lack of accountability, transparency, and implementation. The lacuna made ECOWAS more of a paper organization, not adequately fulfilling the real and genuine purpose and objective of its founding father. The enthusiasm and commitment of the founders were neither matched nor maintained. Take just one aspect, corruption. Let anyone point with certainty to any country in ECOWAS where corruption in different forms or guises is not the bane of development and progress. All the 4 principles of equality of state, interstate cooperation and harmonization of policy, no aggression between member states, and maintenance of regional peace, security, stability, predictability, and prosperity through good neighborliness were all jettisoned at one time or the other. We do not need to go back to the drawing board. We have all we need for a bouncing, thriving, and the best regional economic community organization in the world. We have made mistakes of omission and commission. Let's now follow the spirit and the letters of the treaty, the protocols, and the essential principles, instruments, and guidelines of the organization. Let our leaders study the treaty in detail and act to fulfill the principles and objectives of it, rather than rashly act in seeming ignorance, recklessness, and abandonment. Let us closely look at the action of the 3 countries that have opted out of ECOWAS. their complaints and grievances, their reaction, the commonality of interests, and the need for gradual re-engineering to rebuild confidence and trust, to work together in areas of common interest such as peace, security, stability, predictability, free movement, climate, economic development of the same people across our porous borders. The grievances of the three of them were: one, no support by ECOWAS for them to fight insurgency and terrorism. Two, threats of attack by ECOWAS countries of Nigeria, Benin Republic, and Cote d'Ivoire. Three, closure of borders against them. Four, cutting off of power. Five, non-provision of foreign exchange for them to even import fuel. For now, they feel sore and very strongly anti-ECOWAS. I come here. But when President John Mahama was being inaugurated as president of Ghana in January this year, the three countries were fully represented. In the case of Burkina Faso, the military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, was present himself and was greeted with loud and deafening ovation by the youth when he was introduced. The other two countries were represented by their prime minister. In the evening of that inauguration day, I met with President Mahama. We agreed that he may be the entry point of ECOWAS in diplomacy with the Alliance of Sahel States, since they came to his inauguration as they did. His feedback after he had visited the three countries indicated that with the grievances listed, they will not consider returning to ECOWAS immediately. But they appreciated areas of common interest mentioned earlier, where bilaterally or multilaterally ECOWAS and AES can work together. I believe one thing they should not do is to bring visa back for us to be able to visit our country. That would be a very, very unfortunate retrogression. Such areas as free movement of goods and people, climate change, and so on. With the high risk of coups in the region, West Africa must find new solutions to governments emerging from non-constitutional means. The old measures have woefully failed. ECOWAS is wounded for now, maybe not mortally, but it is in intensive care unit. It will require strong and proactive political attention to keep it alive and healthy again. And that may take a long time, maybe a decade or even more. I have two great fears. One is youth reaction to events in West Africa. They see it, what is happening in these three countries, as they relish, and that is a problem. It's something that should worry all of us. Because the point is that I have not been to any of the three, but I have been to Guinea-Conakry. And when I visited Guinea-Conakry some time ago, I spent 2 nights. And what I came up with is that the military leaders in Guinea-Conakry are not in a hurry to go. They are thinking of a generation. And Faki was still the chair of the AU Commission. And I went to him and I said, this is my observation. Oh, he said, even in my own country, it's the same thing. Now, if that is the situation, what is our antidote? Number 2, military confrontation between ECOWAS and AES, with possibility of proxy war being staged in 2 regions of Africa. If, as we have it now, Russia takes one side and Ukraine takes another side, we will be in great trouble. The leaders must be made conscious of these fears and avoid them like plagues. Our leaders don't need to act out of fear of themselves and among themselves. No. As I was saying, we are the same. When I was here as a cadet in 1958, we have an exercise of endurance and map reading. They will drop us somewhere, they will give us a map and a compass and show us on the map. They won't tell us where we are, but they will show us on the map where we had to go. I don't know whether you still have that. And I started going and I got into a farm. I saw this farmer. Well, in my head, how do I talk to a farmer here in Ghana? I don't speak the local language. Can this farmer speak English? And when I talked to the farmer, he turned out to be a Yoruba farmer. So my problem was solved. And he said to me, go this way and go that way and you'll get to the hill. And that was what I did. And I got to the hill. What our leaders need to fear is the outside support which some of them cling to and which is expensive and maybe altogether not reliable in the end. Let us correct the errors of the past without blame game. We are intertwined, intermixed, interconnected, and intermingled. We cannot decouple what it is. We will remain in this region of West Africa together, and we must understand that as a reality and make amends to work and work together regionally and as soon as we can within the same organization. We live in a common house and we should mend the house together for our common good. Living in silos make us weak and expose us and turn us to prey for predators, no matter our population. Our population size
or our land mass. But together, we are strong and can face and overcome difficulties and succeed together in common security, shared prosperity, and shared value. Just as a matter of information, let me conclude my remarks by reflecting on 50 years of the contribution of Nigeria to the cause or objectives of ECOWAS. Let me begin with the building of befitting headquarters and facilities to accommodate the organs of ECOWAS that are located in Nigeria. But that was part of the reason Nigeria took on, accepted the responsibility of locating the headquarters or hosting the headquarters, and it has to live up to it. It is the obligation we accepted along with the location of the headquarters in our country. Nigeria provided majority of troops of ECOMOG, except that Nigeria and Ghana, that resolved the conflict in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea-Bissau, and to end violence in those countries. Nigeria built roads across the border into Benin Republic and Niger Republic. Nigeria invested heavily in cement and sugar industry in Republic of Benin. Nigerian investors were encouraged and assisted to invest in cement industry in Senegal and Niger Republic. Nigeria built technical training center for Sierra Leone to help train and rehabilitate, to help training and rehabilitation of the immobilized fighters. Nigeria investment and investors are dotted all over West Africa, with Nigeria being in command of the so-called informal economy of West Africa. The West African gas project and the power plant were spearheaded by Nigeria, with loan given at concessionary rate for member states to contribute to the execution of the project. There are a number of other collaboration and cooperation areas where Nigeria has rightly taken lead in the past. It will appear that where Nigeria fails, other efforts fail as well. Nigeria has overwhelming responsibility and obligation for the success of the sub-region in the best interest of the organization and particularly in Nigeria's best self-interest. Let me reiterate that West African leaders must at all times recognize that the region needs common security, peace and shared value, shared prosperity, and shared progress. Any of us that is an oasis within a desert is deceiving itself. It will dry up and dry up fast. We need to make ourselves and expand our oasis until we get rid of desert in West Africa. Let's make ECOWAS a solid block of implementing Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and Agenda 2063. Our collective economic prosperity and progress in Africa depend on it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Sorry, they say I haven't finished.
I've finished the standing and remain the sitting.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can give him another round of applause. Thank you so much. You may please resume your seats. His Excellency Chief Baba Olusegun Matthew Okikiola Aremu Obasanjo. Thank you so much, Baba. Former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, our lecturer for this Republic Day lecture. I would also want to invite on stage His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers to join us. Thank you so much. Now, what we are going to do is to take questions from the audience. My power to sit there and ask questions alone has been taken away from me, and so the power has been put in your hands. There are microphones in the aisle. You just show me your hand, and I will have the team bring the microphone to you. You can ask a question or make a comment. Yes. So can I have my person to my fantastic? So there's a microphone, but because Baba has told us that the democracy is not doing that well in the sub-region, I'm going to defy the directive to allow the audience speak first and ask my question first. And Baba, my question actually has to do with the ECHO. Now, I grew up somewhere on the Akosombo Road. In the early 2000s, whenever I get to a place called Akuse Junction, there used to be a huge billboard that had ECHO written on it. I was excited as a student in junior high school that we're soon going to stop using CFA francs and CD and Naira and have one single ECHO. It has failed us. You have admitted that in the address. My question is, should we give up on the whole ECHO enterprise, or we should keep hope alive? Thank you.
No, I don't think we should give up or give up on anything. Even the situation of AES, I see it as, if we handle it as we should, I see it as we have stumbled, we have not fallen. Now, if we don't handle it, our stumbling will become a fall. And I will say the same for ECHO. I told you, and I own up to my own mistake, but when you listen to your experts, I think there may be occasion when political action may have to override what I would say the experts would say. I did that with AFC. My last 6 months in government, I decided that we should have another development bank, Africa Finance Corporation. And we had money. As I said, our reserve was well over 45 billion. Excess, we call it excess crude. That is the money we get from what we sold our oil for, compared with what we budgeted. So we call it, we had over 25 billion in that. So I just said, look, let's establish AFC. And some people say, oh, no, it will not work and all that. So my minister, governor of Central Bank, I gave him the presidential jet. I said, go round. And within 6 months before I left, we put $500 million. And we raised almost 1.5 billion. And today, AFC has given loan of well over 15 billion and is the third largest development bank in Africa after you take Africa Development Bank and African Bank. Again, we have to find what we have to do to move forward together. Let me give you another example. The way we work. President Kufuor was president of chair of ECOWAS. Okay. And I was chair of AU. And there was election in Guinea-Bissau. One man, one funny man, called Kumbayala, then declared himself the president before the election was completed. So we had this. And I called President Kufuor. I said, look, brother, where are you? He said he's in Accra. I said, look, I'm coming. We go. He said, where are we going? I said, you meet me at the airport. So, and then he was there at the airport. I came out. He said, where are we going? I said, we are going to Guinea-Bissau. I don't know whether you were with us. So he said, what are we going to do? I said, we are going to put stop to this nonsense that is going on there. So we got there. Now, as we were landing, President Kufuor said to me, because we saw everything lush, green, yeah, water, and he said, hey, this country should not be poor. I said, my dear brother, tell me which country in Africa should be poor. And I'm so, tell me which country in Africa should be poor. But look at our stupidity. When we got to the hotel, what did we find? Grape, apple, imported from Europe. This is the country that you don't even need to plant banana. It will grow. Pineapple, it will grow. Orange, it will grow. Now, so of course we went and see the people who were supporting Kumbayala. They were all in uniform. The Guinea-Bissau had more generals than Nigeria had. Honestly, and I said to them, hey, why are you a general? Just because you fought for independence? What nonsense? Okay, look, those of you who want to be farmers, put down your uniform. We will train you. After 6 months, not one of them wanted to be farmers. And they were eating and sucking their own country. Now, this is part of our problem. But we stopped the nonsense, didn't we? We did. Now, nothing should be given up, but leadership. And I can give you more examples, but that leadership will be there. Now, if I can be specific, I believe that when these countries had coup, rather than threaten to attack them, we should get there and say, look, what's happening? Why are you doing this? And they will tell us. But after all, we in Nigeria have had many coups. Coup against civilian, coup against the military. We have had coups. I think you have had coups here too.
Baba, we used to copy each other. Baba, just to remind you, Baba, that one of the people who led the coup in Nigeria is also in this room. Just to remind you. Anyway, my second question has to do.
If I may.
Okay.
Baba has taken my anecdote, which I was going to tell you about this trip to Guinea-Bissau. But one aspect was when we met the Kumbayala then. And in the meeting, he was still insisting he was head of state. And at a point, Professor Kumayala, you are not the head of state. And don't dare us. We didn't leave our countries to come and be treated with this nonsense. You are not the head of state. And the matter ended there.
Baba, my second and last question. You talked about colonial ties as being one of the challenges when you were giving your address. So Francophone, Anglophone, and so on. We've seen what the Burkinabés are doing, trying to sever ties with France. Continentally speaking, is that an approach that we should be considering, or that's something we should avoid at all costs, severing ties with former colonial masters?
Well, why were we colonized? Why? Why were we enslaved? Why? It's the same thing. Look, from enslavement and selling us as commodity, some state cities in Europe were developed for us as commodity. They wanted labor. Then they changed that to colonialism, the same thing, exploiting us, exploiting our resources. Then we have now what they call neo-colonialism, which is the same thing. America has now made itself a peace agent between
Israel and Iran, between
Rwanda and DRC. They did not make themselves peace agent in Gaza. No. Now, why? Because they want what they call strategic mineral. Now, the point is this: how much do we know of the people we are dealing with? I belong to an organization, I don't know whether Ahmed knows, we call ourselves Interaction Council of former heads of government. And we started, I was a foundation member, Malcolm Fraser, Helmut Schmidt, Fukuda, and we started in Brioni, in Yugoslavia, in 1983. And when we meet, well, we had nothing, we drink, we eat, and I see these people. At one time we invited Pierre Trudeau to join us, at another time Jim Callahan joined us. But these are people, so I look at them. I don't drink except my apple juice. But they drink wine, they drink, I look at them. And I said to them, look, you people are terrible lot, aren't you? And Helmut Schmidt said, Olu, that's how he called me. Hey, why do you say that? I said, look, everything is weighted against us in economic terms. Now, what is this? And he said to me, yeah, what I will say to you now, I won't say it in public. We created capitalism for us, for ourselves, not for you. How many of us know that? He said, we created capitalism for ourselves, not for you. And that's true. Then I said, not even for humanity's sake. He said, Olu, you have a bit of economic knowledge. I said, yes. He said, go and bring your book of economics and show me where humanity's sake is a factor of production. And that is the truth. And then he went on. He said, why should I not buy your cocoa for 100? Bring it to Hamburg. His old town was Hamburg in Germany. And turn it to chocolate. And give it back to you for 1,000. And that is what capitalism is all about. Do we understand that? If we understand that, what do we do about it? If we don't do anything about it, then we are compound fools. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. And I learned a lot from them, just listening to them, watching them. And they were the one who at one time said, look, Olu, you are the one, you know our thinking, and you know we want to see what we can do to change the world. You come and go and be Secretary General of the UN. And of course, the Americans said, not you we want. And the British said to our own permanent representative, Agbola Gambari, they said, you Nigerians are a funny lot, aren't you? And Agbola Gambari said, funny lot? What do you mean by that? Oh, he said, is this UN Secretary General? He said, oh, Agbola Gambari said, we have a man who is competent, who is experienced. The British permanent representative said, yes, the title of the office is Secretary General, but we want a secretary, not a general. And that healed my faith. But now, when the election took place, 5 permanent members said they voted for me, and yet I got 2 vetoes.
Thank you, Baba. Dr. Chambers, I don't know if you want to comment on the relationship African countries should have with their former colonial masters before I go to the audience.
Well, just to say that we have to put our interests.
I think we can we use a handheld microphone instead?
Sure.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, in brief, I think if we look at the historical trajectory of our relations, what is evident is that there hasn't been equilibrium in it. There hasn't been equilibrium in it. Baba goes back as far as the period of slavery, through the colonial period, post-independent period. What do we see the result of this relationship? It has been one where one side has developed and is doing very well, the other side has not. And so there is clearly a need for a radical adjustment. And for me, in practical terms, it means that when we say that we need to begin to harness our resources, we need really to be serious about that. Just take an example of the oil sector and see the difference that is being made today with an Aliko Dangote beginning to build a refinery, building a refinery which is one of the biggest in the world. And Nigeria is already seeing the benefits of refining its crude and supplying at home at a cheaper rate than if it was importing finished goods. Yes, there have been challenges. Initially, there were all attempts not even to provide the crude. But these are being overcome gradually. Between Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, and it's President Ouattara who often says that between the two of us, who are producing almost 60% of the cocoa and generating a global value chain of about $120 billion, we earn.
It's 132. 132.
Now 132.
And only 9 billion comes to now the product.
There you go. So that sums up the nature of the relationship and what needs to be done. Because when we start harnessing our own raw material and processing it and adding value along the value chain, we create jobs which are urgently needed for the teeming youth who, if we don't find opportunities for them to become assets and of value to our societies, they will become the time bomb that is being predicted. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing the example of cocoa. And let me just add to that. The world total industry of cocoa, from planting to whatever you turn it to, is 132 billion. But we produce about 80% in West Africa. And all the producers of cocoa, out of this 132 billion, we get 9 billion. Who gave the rest? Those who transport cocoa, those who store cocoa, those who turn cocoa into chocolate and whatever. And then the point is that cocoa is not produced in London, but London is where cocoa price is fixed. And you are laughing. Now, and then I call a summit. You remember? And then if we are able to keep our cocoa for 1 year, we will be able to determine the price of cocoa. So, but the people who will help us build the warehouse for keeping cocoa are the ones that are there in Europe and America. They will not. And that's what I found out. They will not, so that we will not be able to determine the price of cocoa. So can we make money to do it? Maybe when we are more serious. Maybe. But until we are able to do that, we are able, I always say, look, God is in charge and in control. Until we are in charge and partly in control, we aren't going anywhere. We have to be in charge and partly in control. Then we will get there.
Thank you so much, Baba. Let me just remind you that this is a Republic Day lecture put together by One Ghana movement with support from the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. We are live on 97.3 CTFM. We are live on Channel 1 TV. We are also on the Joy News channel. We are sponsored by Viba Insurance Brokers and QIC. We are grateful for your sponsorship. Let me take the questions now. Yes. Okay, you can start from the middle for me. I'll take the right aisle and come to the left aisle. So kindly introduce yourself. If you could be on your feet, introduce yourself and ask your question or make your comments. You can address this to either of our speakers. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, a profound appreciation for this stimulating lecture and what preceded it. My name is Emmanuel Habuka-Bumbande. I'm from Ghana, and I've been in peace building practice my entire career. I've had the privilege of working in different capacities with your Excellencies. Let me be as brief as I can in order to benefit more from your insights, looking at your illustrious experience. And to do that concretely, let me frame it in terms of what you described as the how in terms of our response capacities. Here in Accra, not too far from here, Bemakam was under the directive of our Authority of Heads of State. Our Chiefs of Defense Staff convened a meeting to militarily strategize the operations of invading Niger. Let me leave it at that. And to then turn it around, Your Excellencies. Imagine that in that meeting in Bema camp, you, our elders, with your experiences and your excellencies, you were guiding the discussion on planning a design that's comprehensive on how we talk, how we engage, not just at the level of political leadership, but taking into account the 350 million West Africans. From your hindsight, could that type of a plan, which was not a military plan, but a design of how we talk, could it have altered the behavior of the 3 military leaders that will later on and subsequently lead to the alliance of Sahel states forming themselves and withdrawing from ECOWAS? And if it would, for the benefit again of the 350 million, and I end it here, shouldn't we mobilize the fortitude and the courage to acknowledge our missteps and say, let that become the first agenda of the dialogue? We are sorry for the way we wanted to approach it. Now that we have seen it did not work, can we talk again? Let me leave it and seek your indulgence and your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bombande. Yes, we can get your comments.
Everything you ask, everything you say is meaningful and possible. But I tell you, part of our problem. One, the time our leaders in government, they cannot do long-term planning. Even if they do long-term thinking, they may not be able to implement what they have. Let me give you an example. When I was elected, before I was sworn in, I went round because I came out of prison. And my immediate predecessor said, look, I will give you a plane. Those people who pleaded your cause, you go and thank them. So I went to Europe, I went to America, I went around Africa. I even came here. And then I went to the World Bank. I said to Wolfenson, I said, look, one thing I will want you to do for me is to support me in seeking debt relief. And he said, if you are doing well, we will write good report. I spent my first 4 years. I went around the world. And when I talk to them, they will say, oh yes, you have a good case. And that it ended there. Oh yes, you had a good case. So I went to Wolfenson just before the end of my first term. I said, look, I told you to help us, and you said you will help us, but you haven't helped us. He said, look, we have written 2 good reports on you. You are doing well, but that is as much as we can help. I said, that's as much as we can help. Then what the hell do we do? He said, hold your creditors. They are the one. Hold your creditors. My Minister of Finance then, in my first term, nice man, but he didn't understand the international financial. He did it. Don't laugh, but that is the truth. So I went to Wolfenson. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala had come to work with me for 6 months. So I said to Wolfenson, I said, look, can you give me your girl? He said, why not? If he agrees to come, you have her. I said, but I want 2 other things for you to do. He said, what? I said, I want you to pay her salary. He said, if you give her a technical job, I will pay her salary. But if you give her a political job, no, we won't pay. I said, what is the difference? Because I want to know. He said, technical job make her an advisor. An advisor doesn't carry the same weight as a minister. I said, I want to make her a minister. I said, we won't pay. And the problem that I had was Ngozi had 4 children in Ivy League universities. Not her own salary as such, but the salary the World Bank paid for education of children. In fact, that was my problem. So how do I resolve this? And I wanted her. So I went to UNDP. I said, this is my problem. They said, okay, look, put $100,000 in a special account. We will match it with another $100,000 and we will pay her salary. There were 2 of them who are working for international organizations. Adeniji, who I made my foreign minister. So I did that. And what then did we do? I will go and talk to Chirac. And I will say, Ngozi, you go to her Minister of Finance. Until you hear Chirac talking to his Minister of Finance, don't leave him home. So, and then I will be pestering Chirac until now. So it took us 6 years. If I had only 1 time, I would not have been able to get debt relief. And that is the truth. But because I had a second term, I was able to get debt relief. And that goes for almost everything. So what you said about training, about exposing and all that, they are necessary. They are necessary. But by the time, I came yesterday from London. I was attending a meeting. They still had a meeting today, but I left. No, yesterday, but I left. Wednesday night. Now, and I was telling the president here today, one of the things that shocked me is what they now call synthetic drug. They are much, much more powerful. They are easily carried and not easily detected. And the effect on those who use them are much, much more dangerous. And we said, look, what can we do? They said, not much. Not much. That the effect in America is already devastating and it's going to Europe and it will come to us. Just as natural drug, we said we are only transit. We are not transiting. We are not transiting, we are consumer. Not only are we consumer, these so-called synthetic drug, we are also manufacturers. And they say it's very easy to manufacture. So, what do we do? Almost every area we are buffeted. Every area we are buffeted. And what do we do? So look at the drug thing. Drug is fundamental to all the criminal activities of our youth. Banditry, armed robbery, kidnapping, human trafficking. They are all one of our religious leaders who went to the place, the den of this one Sheikh Gumi, came back and told me that what bothers him now is not the fact that we are getting people killing and all that, but the young people aged 13, age 14, age 15, who are destroyed with drug. He said they are completely destroyed because they could not go anything and do anything without going into drug. And the military cannot even go there. He said this to me. So we have a problem. And the problem is all the things we say we should do. We should do it. We should let our people, our leaders know it. We should get them. And the reason why you have youth doing this is because they have no job. Boko Haram. Boko Haram means Western education.